Arthur from Joker and Sumida from Himizu are the same yet opposite sides of a coin. One shows a bad ending, the other a good one. One shows how a lack of love can push someone to the depths of hell, while the other shows how love can help someone crawl out of it. One wants to be known and loved by everyone, while the other only wants to live quietly, like a mole, a Himizu. They were both born into families that did not want them. They were both raised in bad environments. Both had problems with their parents. Both talk about wanting their lives to mean something. One writes about it in his journal and the other records it on a tape. For both, there is a love story. One dreams of being loved and the other cannot accept it. Both receive similar looking guns from people who don't actually care for them. And both decide to use those guns on themselves. Both killed their parents and both wanted to kill people they believed were awful. Even their first victims after they snapped were quite similar. For Arthur, it was the three men he saw on the subway, and for Sumida, it was the three men he saw at the train station. The similarities between these two characters don't end here, so instead of listing them, let's start from the beginning, and instead of analyzing them separately, we will do so simultaneously. But first, we need to go through some of the things that happen in both movies. Throughout the video, there will be a sanity bar for our two main characters, so we can better track. This is a progression of madness. The first scene in both movies is dedicated to showing that these people are unhappy with their lives. Arthur crying as he puts on his clown makeup, and Sumida looking for the gun he saw in his dream. My problems with Joker start pretty early, because in the scene immediately following that, we see some kids stealing Arthur's sign and then beating him up. It feels like the movie rushed to show us how poor this man is. And the bad thing that happens to him feels forced. It doesn't contribute to the overall storyline. It would be the same if we were hit by an asteroid at that point, because it comes out of nowhere, without reason, just because it's a sad thing to happen to him, I guess. But nevertheless, it gets the job done, and we learn that Arthur is a miserable man. Himizu takes his time before showing the first bad thing that happens to Sumida. It takes place 13 minutes into the movie. After we learn who he is and where he lives, we see a drunk man come and ask him where his mother is, and then proceed to beat him up and ask him for his money. This is Sumida's father, who only comes home to collect the money Sumida has made from running the small boat rental they own. This is where most of the movie takes place. After the tsunami destroyed the town, Sumida has given shelter to several people who lost their homes. These people include a couple, an old man who used to own a company, and two other men who have just joined them. That night, while Sumida is sleeping, his father comes back, still drunk, and he is looking for something. He starts saying things like he wishes Sumida had died, because then he would have gotten a large insurance payout, and that he regrets spending so much money raising him. Each time he gets drunk, he says the same things to Sumida as if it is the first time. Sumida has heard these things from his father hundreds of times. His father says more bad things to Sumida and leaves. Arthur is talking to his therapist. From the beginning of the movie, Arthur has already pretty much lost his mind, having even been in a mental asylum before, while Sumida, though he is also not doing well, is far from Arthur's state. This is important, we will return to this point later. Arthur has a journal in which he writes whatever comes to mind, but one line is important. I just hope my death makes more sense than my life. After that, there's a boss scene in which Arthur is uncontrollably laughing because of his condition, which we will also return to later. When these scenes take place in the movie matters, so I will save the timestamps and another scene that will come later. Arthur goes back home. Sumida, sitting at home, sees a car arrive. Sumida's mother and an unknown man exit the car and enter the house. Later, after the rain stops, his mother and the unknown man leave together, and Sumida tells the man never to return. The scenes from minute 18 to 26 introduce Sumida's female classmate, who likes him, but we will skip them as they are not related to the topic of this video. So let's get back to Joker quickly. Arthur is putting on his clown makeup for work. His body is still bruised from the previous day. His friend who works at the same clown agency talks to him and gives him a revolver, saying he will need it for self-defense. Remember this. His boss tells him he must pay for the damage to the sign, which angers him further. Back in his apartment, he sees a woman and her child in the elevator, and is attracted to her. So he decides to follow her the next day. After stalking her, he goes to watch a stand-up comedy. He wants to be a stand-up comedian someday, so he studies it. As he works on his jokes at home, the woman he followed knocks on the door, asking if he was the one following her earlier. After talking for a while, he invites her to watch his stand-up comedy later. Sumida goes back home after school and finds that his mother has collected her belongings and left him, leaving only a note wishing him good luck. After that, he stops going to school and stays home to work. A few days pass. As Sumida and Shozo, the old man Sumida sheltered, are sitting outside the house, an expensive car arrives. They are looking for Sumida's father, who, as always, is not there. Apparently his father borrowed a lot of money from the man in white, claiming he needed it for his family. But he took the money and disappeared. Now they want to get their money back from Sumida, which he obviously does not have. They all get into a fight, which even leaves Shozo injured. Before leaving, they tell him they will be back tomorrow for the money. Arthur goes back to work as a clown, this time in a children's hospital. During his show, the gun he was given falls out of his pants, which gets him into a lot of trouble. Apparently his friend, Randall, who gave him the gun, told their boss that Arthur tried to buy a gun from him. Randall was planning to get Arthur fired. At one of the lowest points of his life, he gets on the subway without changing clothes to go home. As he is sitting alone, 3 Wall Street guys approach him and start harassing him, eventually beating him. But this time, unlike in that alley, he is armed. Arthur didn't just want to defend himself. He followed one of them out of the subway to make sure he was dead. Having realized he is capable of doing something like that, Arthur finds some courage. He goes back to his apartment and kisses the girl he likes. The next day, when he goes to collect his belongings before leaving, since he got fired, everyone is talking about what happened at the subway. What he did has become headline news, and he likes how many people are happy with what he did. But this good feeling only means he is losing his mind even more, and it's going to get worse, since he will not be able to have more meetings with his therapist, because her office is closing. Shozo decides to steal money to pay for Sumida's debts. This is another difference between Joker and Himizu. In Himizu, we also follow a few other characters, like Shozo or Sumida's female classmate. Another difference, which we will see now, is that Himizu, unlike Joker, doesn't put its protagonist at the center of the events, instead making sure we understand that he is not a special case. Sumida is working at the boat rental. Different people come and go, but one of them seems a bit odd. As he is about to get on the boat, he stops Sumida and tells him that people who are nothing but nuisances should all die. Sumida agrees and says there are some people he would like dead too. The strange guy likes that answer and cheers him on. As they are working, Sumida's father comes. He again beats him, asking for money. We see the strange guy laughing from the boat, knowing exactly what is coming next. Sumida's father starts leaving, telling him that he will come back the next day to collect the money. But Sumida isn't done. He picks up a cinder block and raises it above his father's head. The strange guy screams, "Hit him." But he cannot do it. Sumida can't take it anymore. He is at his breaking point. This is honestly one of the saddest scenes in the movie. Seeing this child, who has not yet entered high school, face the fact that through no fault of his own, he is prevented from having the chance to live a normal life is tragic. When Sumida is having this meltdown, it feels real. There is nothing fake here, and it is the fault of no one but his parents. It's symbolized perfectly in the next scene when we follow his classmate, Keiko, back to her house, where we see that her parents, with their own hands, have slowly and painstakingly made the tool to get rid of her. Her mother says the exact thing Sumida's father told him, that she wishes she had never been born. In Keiko's house, we see it symbolized. In Sumida's house, we see it literally. Arthur is going to perform, and his new girlfriend is in the crowd. Because of his condition, he can't stop laughing, but it doesn't stop him, and eventually both she and others start laughing and enjoying it. Outside the club, he sees a newspaper article about what he did on the subway. His girlfriend, unaware that he is responsible, says she is happy with what the killer is doing. It seems like Arthur is finally finding happiness, but it will be short-lived, because when he gets home, he finds a note his mother wrote for someone else. For the purposes of this video, let's not get into too much detail and just call him someone. He decides to read the note and realizes that all these years he has been that person's child. Arthur's mother worked for him around 3 decades ago, so if it's true, then it wasn't even a normal relationship. After confronting his mother, she passes out, which only further pushes Arthur into despair. On top of that, the police are suspicious of him regarding the subway incident, and the cherry on top happens when a clip of him doing his stand-up routine is shown on the TV as a failure. This is an especially important scene, because it also shows us that Arthur is delusional. During the stand-up comedy scene, we see that it starts really badly, but eventually, people start to laugh and it turns out well. But now we know we can't fully trust what we see in this movie, because we're also seeing his delusions. That the stand-up comedy was not a success. No one laughed. Sumida's father returned that night, drunk, repeating his usual questions.
Is your mother home?
No.
Do you have money?
No.
Why are you still alive? If you died, I would have received the insurance money.
Sumida's father is not mad. He is not beating him. He is genuinely asking him to die, from the bottom of his heart. But this time is different from all the previous hundreds of times they have had this conversation. The difference is that this time, Sumida is at his breaking point, with nothing to lose. His father leaves, but Sumida follows him. He picks up the cinder block from where he left it that day. He hesitates, but he knows that if he doesn't do something now, nothing will change. So for once, he will do what needs to be done. He raises the block and... all the other people Sumida sheltered were there, awake, but even they knew this needed to happen, so none of them intervened. Sumida dug his father's grave. Sumida buried his father. Sumida is broken. Arthur finds a way to meet the man he believes to be his father, but the man tells Arthur that his mother was delusional and that he was adopted. They had no relationship. When he tried to confirm this, he also learned much about his tragic childhood that he had erased from his memory. Having learned what his mother did to him as a child, he visits his mother in the hospital and takes his revenge. He returns to his apartment and enters his girlfriend's home, but she acts as if she doesn't know him. Your name's Arthur, right? That relationship was also not real. He is at his breaking point. Now, it gets interesting. He goes back home and his TV is still on. The news is reporting about someone who stabbed 5 pedestrians, killing one that day. The killer is the same strange person he saw earlier. In his confession, he said he was inspired by someone he called his soulmate. Sumida isn't just watching TV, he is looking in a mirror. He cries seeing who he has become. Remember Arthur's journal in which he wrote that he wishes his death would make more sense than his life? Now Sumida is having the same thoughts, but instead of writing them down, he records them on a tape. Just like Arthur, after he killed those 3 men, Sumida has also realized he is more capable than he thought. Now it's time for the final show. They put on their makeup. They pick their weapons. The final end goal for both of them is the same. Themselves. As I said at the beginning of the video, Himizu shows a good ending, while Joker shows a bad one. Let's get to that now. Sumida's goal is to kill as many people as he deems bad as possible before dying, and as that happens, the movie does something interesting. The movie confronts Sumida with people who are just as broken as he is, showing that there are so many people at their breaking point around us, and we see how they spiral deeper, while Sumida does not. Very early in Joker, we see that Arthur writes things like this without seeing what led him to that point, but we see that process with Sumida. Very early in Joker, Arthur receives a gun from someone, while a similar event happens to Sumida around the end of Himizu. Even in both movies, it's a bald man giving them the gun. Before Joker even begins, Arthur is already unwell, uncontrollably laughing loudly at the back of a bus. While in Himizu, we see something similar near the end of the movie. In a flashback, Arthur bangs his head against a wall, while Sumida does so toward the end. Arthur cries in an alley at the beginning, while Sumida does so later in the movie. Arthur at the beginning of Joker is what Sumida is near the end of Himizu. But in Sumida's case, as I said, there are people around him to help him out of the hell he is in. While with Arthur, we see the path Sumida would take if things never improved. Sumida's dark path was stopped early, while Arthur was left to go deeper and deeper. I'm not going to talk about how these two movies actually end, because both are really worthy movies to watch, especially Himizu because it's extremely underrated. Just know that this movie, if you give it a chance, will never leave your brain. It's one of those movies that you will do your best to find a way to talk about it with others. It might not look like it, but I left a lot for you to see for yourself with Himizu, so if it sounded interesting, trust me, seeing it for yourself is a completely different experience from just watching a video of a pixelated guy talk about some parts of it. I wanted to talk more about this movie, but saying more would take away from experiencing it for yourself. So just watch it. It's genuinely one of the best movies I've seen in my life. It makes me cry no matter how many times I watch it. That is the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, be sure to leave a comment.